Let's get Dave. Dave is calling from India, and he says that stimulating yourself with God's music, knowledge, etc., points toward a God. All right, Dave. Interesting idea. Can you tell us, first of all, what is God's music, and how do you stimulate yourself?
Stimulation can be done through any of the senses.
Okay.
And
okay, so
not the answer I was hoping for.
Answer the first question first. What is God's music?
The pitch and cadence, the beats per minute, the chords used.
So you're talking about literal music.
So Dave, real fact.
Yeah.
Am I frozen, by the way? Okay.
No, you look good.
Okay, I'm good. Dave, I am learning to play the bass. And right now I am working on Give It To Me, Baby by Rick James. This is actually true. Okay? It's a real toe tapper. All right? It's fun. It's a fun song too, and it's a fairly simple bass line. And I like the message. I really like the message of that song too. Is there a way for me to stimulate myself? I'm sorry, I tried doing it with a straight face. Is there a way for me to stimulate myself when I'm playing Give It To Me, Baby?
Well, are you stimulating yourself, or is Rick James stimulating you?
Dave, help me out. I'm being childish. Is it possible for me to get God's music by stimulating myself by listening to and playing Give It To Me, Baby by Rick James? Is that what you mean?
No, that's not possible, no.
Really?
Ooh, he's saying it's impossible. That's
some kind of religion for that.
Oh, it has to be religious music.
Can you define religious music for us?
I'm not saying... we have so many classical instruments. I don't know the names of them, but we have a lot of, like all around the world, we have different kinds of instruments that have been used in the past in devotion to the God by different cultures.
Okay, well, I know that Elvis Presley put out a lot of gospel albums, all right? And those gospel albums had to have had a bass guitar, for example, in them. He won a lot of awards for gospel music, and he had a lot of musicians in there, probably keyboard, singing, obviously guitar, and bass. And those gospel songs were worship songs, right?
Yes, they were worship songs, but it was more like a hybrid. You have to listen to the purest form of it, to the boring version that is not that stimulating when you listen to it. It's kind of boring.
So you're saying that I think we can all agree that Give It To Me, Baby is far too stimulating to be worship music.
I mean, the title itself is calling for stimulation.
What if this is terrible, Dave? What if I change the lyrics? Have you ever done Christian karaoke or any kind of religious karaoke? I have, where I find the Christian version of, let's say, a Doors song, and some Christians have just gone ahead and rewrote the lyrics. Like "Light My Fire" is the song, but it involves Jesus's salvation. Does that count if I change the lyrics to a song? And so if, let's say, I change the lyrics to Give It To Me, Baby, we all kind of know what Rick James is asking for in that song. But what if he's asking for salvation in the song? Does it matter that it's got a really good beat and it's got a groove, you might say, if not a funkiness to it? If you're expressly asking for salvation or to be one, give it to me, baby. Give me the oneness of your holiness.
It's more about repetition. You need to repeat that behavior on a daily basis with integrity.
I play bass every single day.
One is seeing, and when you have nobody and you're kind of like getting bored, but you're trying to persevere through life.
What's the goal here? If you do what you're saying, what happens?
It will lead to a better decision-making system.
What does that have to do with religion?
It would lead to quicker realizations and the fruits of derivatives that happen from that realization.
That doesn't, like, I asked what it had to do with religion, and that doesn't, your answer didn't contain the word God or spirit or anything like that. So what is your point? We're having a lot of fun with it, but if you listen to boring religious repetitive music, then what happens with relationship to any religious claims? Does it make anything true? Does it prove anything? Does it provide any evidence? What's your point?
Yeah, so I can give you an example of my life. When I work in IT, and when I'm coding, if I listen to rap music, I usually can't focus. At the same time, it becomes tough to logically figure out the answer. But if I'm listening to some kind of religious music or some kind of music that's associated with God, then it leads to better decisions and at the same time more creative thoughts which I didn't think about. So one thought all of a sudden opens up 10 different doors because you just didn't realize that thought in that moment while interacting with the world. So stimulating yourself in that sense.
Yeah, great. So the question then is, that's a great anecdote. What studies can you give us that show that listening to boring, repetitive music gets you in the flow? I mean, you're describing the flow when you start talking about being able to code and not have to think things out and all that sort of stuff. Do we have studies, and do any of them conclude that there's a God?
But that's the thing, right? That you're just quantifying that state as flow. It's not really flow. It's your interaction with the non-physical world, and you're getting thoughts from that part.
All right, so let's just stop right there. Now we've made a leap. Hold on one second. I know we got a little bit of a lag. You're in India, and I appreciate your call. But you just said your interaction with the non-physical world. Do you mean some sort of supernatural world, or are you talking about the fact that my mind creates my brain, and my brain, while it seems to be an effect of my mind, that it has some sort of connection to something non-physical? What do you mean by non-physical connection, and how can you prove it?
So we have a physical reality, which is our body. And then in that physical reality, we have a brain, and the brain produces the mind. Mm-hmm. So mind is like kind of like sand floating on top of the brain. And you can move that sand in your body. You can take it to your stomach. You can take it to your legs. And there are meditative techniques to do that. So, but that sand and the brain that you have is present in something non-physical. And that non-physical is remixing your knowledge and helping you guide through your life.
Dave,
you had.
I think in order you've got this architecture worked out that you're talking about, but I think you have to before you can describe this thing that you're conceiving of, I think you have to provide evidence that this non-physical components actually exist. Okay? And I don't know if we've talked before, but regardless of that or irregardless of that, how can you prove that there is... Okay, let me back it up because, okay, Dave, I can't listen to rap music and work either. All right? Because I can't hear words. And then I work in a word world of words. I type words, I'm reading words. And if I hear words, or if I can't think other words while I'm hearing other words. And rap, I don't know if you know this, folks out there, primarily words. And so... they have a lot to say, the rappers, they do. And so what I do is I listen to like lo-fi, ambient electronic stuff You could call it boring music. Some of it sounds like didgeridoo. I'll admit. It's got like really like relaxing tones, tonal soundscapes, if you're an Office fan. Soundscapes, you might say. And it gets me in the zone. It gets me into the flow. Slow and low, that is the tempo. And I am able to just write up a storm when that's happening, okay? There's nothing supernatural about it. It's in a way. I have tinnitus. Oh, I said it before. So I hear the ringing. When I'm listening to something, I don't hear the ringing. When I don't hear words, I'm able to think my own thoughts in words, and that gets it. It sort of takes all those distractions that my brain is constantly the 10 pounds of potatoes in a 5-pound bag that's in my head, right, and allows me to focus on the words that I want. That's a phenomenon, but it's not a spiritual phenomenon. It's not a metaphysical phenomenon. It's just a thing. And I think that that's not unusual, that if you're coding and you're listening to boring music, you should switch. Try switching your coding music from whoever you're listening to maybe some of the stuff that I'm listening to that is based upon some of the album art, arguably not religious in nature. Or at least not boring in nature, and maybe you'll have the same effect. If you had the same effect, Dave, from listening to listening to secular music, would that still be God's music in your mind?
So I just shared one derivative, which is music, and how it can be applied in real life. There are other derivatives like food, which is a big one in God's world. So that's why I just want to say that, I might not, you can argue that you can listen to a low fi music and that can put you in the same state, and then you would get the same results. But up till now, based on my experience, what I have seen is any kind of music, apart from the true religious songs that we have, any other music, it doesn't work. It's not optimized for it.
Yeah.
Again,
so
you made a claim. Go ahead, Crossy.
Yeah, when you're asserting this, I asked for studies, I asked for evidence, and you're just asserting it again. Plus, you're now making the no true music fallacy that only the true music can induce flow. Johnny's experience doesn't count. You're raising more questions than I think we can answer. The key question, I think, is, I'm not sure how to phrase it, but along the lines of, other people are going to report the same experience and tell us the same effect happened to them, and they weren't listening to what you would count as the qualifying music. How do I tell which one of you is right? Dave says only music set X works. Mary calls and said, I did the same thing with music set Y, which is different from X, and it worked for me. And they both say that the other person is wrong. How do I tell between the two of you, Dave and Mary, which one, if any, are actually right?
You would be filling out a tax form and not a LinkedIn post.
All right. So
that doesn't, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me.
But that doesn't seem here.
That doesn't, yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave. That doesn't answer the question. Can you please restate your answer in a way that makes sense to two people who are desperately trying to understand you?
If your reality is strong, you will get the things that you're looking for because you're in the correct direction, doing the correct things, and you will get what you want.
Okay.
Because your reality is strong, and your reality became strong by stimulating yourself with those God sounds, and then making decisions which opened up doors which you didn't realize in the first place.
I'm having post-traumatic stress disorder flashbacks to when I forced myself to watch a series of Deepak Chopra explanations of physics. It's the same sort of thing, just assertion after assertion after assertion with gobbledygook words that say, you have to self-actualize, or if you're Jordan Peterson, the music would exist in a substrate that we can't comprehend, and all of these words that intentionally don't mean anything or can be interpreted 8 million different ways. I'm beginning to suspect that Dave is either not that serious or he's been too busy stimulating himself with this music to hold a coherent thought.
Dave, I'm also working on Psycho Killer by the Talking Heads. And that's less sexual, I hope. And I'm going to tell you that when I'm practicing, when I'm playing the stuff, I get, I almost said it. I'll say it. I get a rise out of it. I enjoy doing it. I feel when I'm getting it, when I'm going through the practice, the scales and the little exercises, I get a little spark of excitement. I feel like I'm in harmony with the universe. I feel like I got a strong reality going on, but the same thing happens when I play Give It To Me, Baby. And that is, at least according to the video, and I assume that's a documentary, at least according to the video, that is a highly sexually charged situation. And I still get that excitement. So I feel like my reality is strong when I'm doing these things. I feel like when I'm invested in the moment of doing something like that and I have success, more so when I have failures. You get older, you get more failures, but sometimes you have successes, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
And I don't understand. And then as far as food is concerned, what about food? What about food is the music of is that the food of God that you're talking about?
Yes, by eating different kinds of foods leads to different kinds of mentalities and different kinds of behaviors and decisions.
Can I ask you a question real quick? And I'm not making any assumptions. You are from India. Are you a follower of Ayurvedic medicine?
No, I'm not. No.
Okay. Well, let me ask you then, because I have a friend who, despite being totally awesome, was describing how Ayurvedic medicine is totally real. And anyhow, what kind of food is God's food? I have some. I was going to make some like curry tonight with chickpeas and chicken. And some peppers. Am I disqualified from making God's food if I make with certain?
Food. That's God's food.
What isn't God's food?
Yeah, that was my question.
Yeah, what isn't God's food?
Yeah, because God put all of us in this situation where we will be eating chicken and fish, and they're actually good for your body, helps you in focus, builds your muscles up, gives you strength, confidence, focuses you more. So there are amazing benefits to it. So there
are amazing benefits to eating food. I will agree with you. My law practice was in FDA regulatory law, and wow, food really does have a lot of benefits. But I don't think you're getting us anywhere on this call by just saying food gets you good stuff. I can eat a lot of things that will give me benefits. You still haven't differentiated what is God's food and what is food but not God's food. So what is not God's food?
I would say killing something that is already endangered.
Okay, so this is you sound like you're answering a quiz show here. Like, is the answer on the board, Johnny?
Yeah, survey says. So if I ate like a panda meat is not God's food. Is that fair to say?
Yes, because that brings morality into question, that you're forcing your existence upon someone else's existence.
Well, there were a very large number of people on this planet who would say just by eating any living thing, you were calling into question a moral question. So again, you seem to be asserting that whatever you think is right is right. Do you? I don't know where to go with this one, Johnny. I think my mind is all played out on this. I do have to say that the Rick James, I want you to keep that practice going, because he's definitely on, as between Parliament and Rick James. One of them was in the get down camp and one was in the get up camp. I think that's a much more important question than what type of music is officially licensed by God to have official religious flow.
Yeah, I think I have a little more on this food business.
Oh, okay. All right.
Dave, so what if a person doesn't know if an animal is endangered and they eat it? Let's say that's easy. Here's another one.
I've got one for you, Johnny. I've got one for you, Johnny.
I got one too, but go ahead.
The animal is endangered when you're about to kill it. You're about to eat it, right? You've killed a wolf.
Yeah.
And as you eat it, you take the first bite and it was endangered. But before you take the second bite, a bunch of wolves give birth to put it back above the endangered limit. And now it's no longer endangered. Does that make the second bite of the same sandwich God's food?
That's a good question.
Okay. What's yours?
But I've got I don't have an answer. I don't know. And Chris would be like, thank you for being honest, Johnny. But I would say that here's another example that I think I want to know from Dave is, okay, there's two almonds. Okay. Almonds. We love almonds, don't we, folks? They're high in nutrients. They're tremendous nuts.
They are the best nuts.
Tears
in my eyes when I eat almonds.
When I eat them. However, almonds are very water intensive. Okay, they're extremely water intensive, to the point that they to grow almonds, really you should only be growing almonds in areas where there's a lot of rain, because if you grow them in areas where you have to redirect water, that can affect the water table levels, that can affect the water availability to different people, and it affects the environment in a deleterious way. So I don't know where the almonds come from the almond milk that I might buy, so I tend not to buy almond milk, all right? I drink different kinds of milk and different kinds of stuff. So Dave, is an almond and all of the almond derivatives, is that a God food or is that a not God food?
That depends on the flag of your nation.
In what sense?
An almond can be a curse in a desert where there is resource scarcity and people are living in resource scarcity. And then there was rain and they grew almonds, and then that brought drought. But if you're living with Great Lakes, I don't think you need to worry about that.
All right, but if you grow almonds near the Great Lakes to our north, let's say, first of all, you would have to divert water to, let's go through the entire chain here. You're getting water from the Great Lakes, but people are already throwing chemicals into the Great Lakes and sewage into the Great Lakes.
Desalinate it too.
You got not the Great Lakes. Those are freshwater lakes. World's largest.
That's true. It's true.
And so you've got the Great Lakes water already desalinated. However, it's just filled with sewage and other like chemicals from the manufacturing process, agricultural runoff as well, not as well as construction waste flows in there. So now you're taking water from the Great Lakes and you're sending it to a processing plant. All right. So you can grow almonds. Okay. You have to run a pipeline. To run a pipeline, you're going to have to condemn property. To condemn property means you have to take property or certain rights of property from individuals along that right of way, right? And then compensate them. By compensating them, you have to take money from the treasury of the state or states that are going to have this pipeline. And that treasury is funded by taxpayer taxes, right? That means you and me are going to be paying for this pipeline to grow almonds. And as a taxpayer, maybe I want my money to go toward maybe more nutritious, maybe more environmentally friendly crops. Maybe I don't want my tax money to go to subsidizing almond plants in the Great Lakes region, because we could grow better corn or wheat, barley, other kinds of things that are more nutritious, can feed more people than almonds. And so
my own
Dave.
Yeah, my only point.
I need your point.
My only point was that if no matter what you want to do, you want to go barley, you want to go corn, you want to go almonds, and I was just giving an example. I didn't mean specific Great Lakes. I just meant that if you live in a nation which has abundance of resources and there is abundance in things, then the story that you just told me, that one almond fall field causing disruption to the whole community, that becomes irrelevant, because when you have abundance, you don't need to worry about those kinds of problems.
Oh, that's not true, Dave. That is not true. Because
outrageous, Dave.
let's not, I don't like the perfect to be the enemy of the good here. But honestly, if we're redirecting Great Lake, or let's say a place of abundance, we can always do better. There are starving people in the world, right, that could benefit from more nutritious food that can be grown with less water, less nutrients, less labor than an almond could be. So at what point do you say the country and the region is abundant and wealthy enough that we can discount the greater needs of others, right? Or we can grow almonds as opposed to maize or clover or whatever it is that people grow and eat, parsley, right? There are always going to be foods that are more nutritious than, not always, but there are a lot more foods. When do you say, okay, you know what, the country's rich enough and we don't care about other countries, so we're just going to grow almonds? Where's that tipping point, Dave? And that will tell us whether it's a God food or not, right?
Yeah, so
give it to me, Dave.
Primitive food is very primitive knowledge, and America had 70,000 warheads, so it is what it is.
70,000 warheads?
It is. Yeah, it is what it is there, Johnny. So, Dave, I guess my question is, are you just using the word God as a synonym for morally good? Because we've been on this call for 36 minutes. I still don't understand your point. Your point seems to be when you eat stuff that doesn't have any moral objections, that's a good thing. And when you eat stuff where you could have moral objections, that's a bad thing. When you listen to some music that helps you, that's a good thing. When you listen to music that doesn't help you specifically, Dave, that's a bad thing. Is that your point?
All I'm saying is there are so many techniques where by using those techniques, you can put yourself in a transcendental mode, which would result in a flow state or any kind of thing that you want to do, which would result in good decision, better realization, and better fruit. And more life.
Sounds good. So as far as I can tell, Johnny, God is the word God is just superfluous in this entire conversation. It really doesn't have anything to do with a actual supernatural being. It's just about being good. And by the way, you can induce a transcendental state. You can meditate.
Is that what you were saying, Dave?
Yes. Yeah. Anything like food, the way what we discussed about food, then there are meditation techniques, there's sound, everything, whatever you can do.
What about
so that you have experience of life. A person living in the 2nd century could not experience life the way we do, right? So, but now the time is ripe, and you can just use those techniques to flow through life.
the time is right, and I'm moving on. I want to be your number one. Yeah,
As the prophet said.
As the prophet, yeah, Deborah said, the prophet Deborah spaketh unto me. Dave, I don't think you're really saying a whole lot that is helping us really zero in on the existence of God, except insofar as that we can. No, I wouldn't even go that far. I don't think you really said too much, Dave. I appreciate you calling.